Thank you, Trump! Thank you, Trump! Thank you, Trump!
And President Trump getting a hero's welcome in Israel on a very historic day. Hamas releasing all 20 living hostages as part of the peace deal that Trump brokered. Emotional scenes as families were reunited with loved ones who were held hostage for 2 years. The president getting a thunderous ovation while addressing the Israeli Knesset. And he couldn't resist taking a few shots at his predecessors while he was at it.
But when you settle 8 wars in 8 months, that means you don't like war. Everyone thought I was going to be brutal. In fact, I remember Hillary Clinton during a debate, she said, look at him, he's going to go to war with everybody. And actually, she said, he's got a personality that's all about war. No, and my personality actually is all about stopping wars, and it seems to work. It could have happened a long time ago, but it was strangled and set back almost irretrievably by the administrations of Barack Obama and then Joe Biden.
And then it was to Egypt. President Trump shaking hands and meeting with 30 countries for a Gaza peace summit, hoping to keep the momentum going on his 20-point plan for peace in the region.
Now the rebuilding begins. The rebuilding is maybe going to be the easiest part. I think we've done a lot of the hardest part because the rest comes together. The momentous breakthrough that we're here to celebrate tonight is more than the end of the war in Gaza. It's with God's help. It'll be the new beginning for an entire beautiful Middle East. All the momentum now is toward a great, glorious, and lasting peace, and our commitment to fulfilling the 20-point plan. I hope everybody's going to join the Abraham Accord. I like to say the Avraham. I love Avraham.
And here's something for a change. Some Democrats and media pundits were willing to give credit where credit is due.
This was very much a peacemaker's speech.
Do you give him credit for this?
Oh, certainly. I mean, this is an incredible accomplishment, an incredible moment. I mean,
it's a terrific day for the hostage families. It's a terrific day for President Trump, for our national interests.
He should get a lot of credit. I mean, this was his deal. He worked this out.
Listen, he got the deal across the finish line. There's no question.
Things seem sort of possible now in a way that they didn't necessarily before.
It's a better future ahead. That's what today represented. It was so powerful and unbelievably emotional.
And it went on from there. I think Hillary Clinton even had some nice things to say. Jesse Waters, we'll start with you on this huge moment. And I would just point out that President Trump, before he flew all the way there, he was ready to stand there in solidarity with his friend, be a part of this peace movement, and take it to the next level in phase 2. But before that, he also met with former hostages and their families in order to hear directly from them.
Yeah, he was so successful because he turned everything on its head. Great day for everybody, but a huge indictment of American foreign policy over the last 30 years. Donald Trump bombed the Iranians instead of giving them cash. He turned Israel loose in the region instead of trying to contain Israel. He sold the Arab leaders technology instead of just weaponry. And all of the talk about human rights abuses really rubbed these Arab leaders the wrong way. And he focused on controlling the human rights abuses of the terrorists. Imagine that. He removed Palestinian statehood as the cornerstone of the negotiation strategy. And then he also turned loose New York real estate developers. Who would have thought they would have been more effective than career diplomats? Joe Biden, when he first gets in there, called the Saudi Crown Prince a killer. And then he told him he was going green. And then what did he do? He came back begging to pump more oil. So then when he wanted more help to solve this thing, they put him to voicemail. And all the people you showed praising Donald Trump for his success in the Middle East, they wanted to put him in prison. So if they had been successful in putting him in prison, Hamas would have still had the hostages and the Iranians would have still had their nuclear program. It kind of hinges, this whole peace deal, on the Bibi miscalculation when he tried to take these strikes against these negotiators in Qatar. Trump was shocked that he did that, and the Arab world was humiliated. And he brings Bibi back to the White House, and he makes him make an apology phone call while everybody was taking photographs. And that showed the Arab world that Trump could control Netanyahu. And that means they trusted him, that if Netanyahu signs this deal, Trump will make sure he doesn't break it. He was able to establish that trust through a personal relationship. And hopefully, what he's doing now in Ukraine, the way he turned Israel loose in Syria and Iran and Lebanon and in Gaza, he's now considering turning the Ukrainians loose by selling them Tomahawk missiles, because the nice stuff hasn't worked with Putin yet. He might have to turn them loose and have deep strikes inside of Russia, and that might bring an end to that war. And if you could do that, you got to give the guy the Nobel Peace Prize.
In fact, I think I just saw on X that Time Magazine, it's not Time Magazine Person of the Year, but they have him on the cover and giving him due credit. Harold Ford Jr., get your thoughts now.
Good to be back with everybody. I agree with Jesse in huge ways. I think Jesse's sketching out of the history over the last several months, starting with, I think, two things: our ability to go into Iran with the Midnight Hammer mission and destroy and undermine their ability to fund and provide their proxies with weapons was a huge thing. The Israelis really paved that for us because they cleared their airspace, and we have the technology and had the men and women to be able to get it done. And then obviously, Jesse, I think you're absolutely right. The attack of the Hamas negotiators in Qatar rubbed Qatar the wrong way, and it gave President Trump the opportunity to apply pressure to both sides. And now we've got to do it. We've got to do it in Ukraine. I'd say just two last things, because I think Jesse nailed it. What I hope emerges from this, because there's there are real questions that we will now have to deal with, and it was so encouraging to see the president there with the leadership in the Middle East, as well as many of our European allies. And I actually think some of the pressure they applied to Israel by saying that they wanted to recognize Palestine as a state, was something that also helped in this process as well. But we shouldn't kid ourselves. It was President Trump that did it. Two things. Will there be a new generation of leadership that emerges as we think about the way Gaza is going to be governed, new, younger leadership? You talked about MBS and how he was perceived and treated by President Biden. He's a young guy who realizes that the future of that region cannot just be tied to energy products. He wants technology and other things, and clearly what President Trump did by brokering the sale of massive amounts of our AI and massive amounts of our technology will help that. We should all recall 2 years ago, right before October 7th, the Israelis and the Saudis were on the verge of a massive and historic peace and economic security deal, which would have transformed the region as well and added to the Abraham Accords, depending on how you want to pronounce it. So I'm hopeful and encouraged this afternoon, and I'm even more so that President Trump is now saying his trust for President Putin is at an all-time low, and he's going to give these people offensive weapons, Tomahawks, in order to bring them to the table. So I agree with you 100%.
Kennedy, I could watch the reunion videos all day, and I have watched so many of them, and it does remind you just the barbarity of Hamas. And all of this could have ended if Hamas would have released all the hostages immediately. And Israel said that it would stop. The hostages are released. The war has stopped.
20 of them are. And, you know, for those 20 families, there was so much uncertainty. And the only thing that felt certain was this war was going to drag on for another year. It felt interminable. And they may not see their loved ones again. You know, the hostage videos that we have seen, the dramatic weight loss and, you know, the change in complexion and body makeup, it was so jarring for people. You know, seeing your loved one digging his own grave, seeing these people wither and grow pale. And the worry is that you're going to be on the list of families who are called when their loved ones didn't make it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they prayed and hoped beyond hope. And this, for them, is something that they were trying to put into words in the Knesset in Israel as President Trump spoke. And, you know, the Speaker of the Knesset said that President Trump is the greatest ally Israel has ever had. Benjamin Netanyahu said that he was going to nominate President Trump for the Israel Prize, something that no non-Israeli had ever won. And, you know, when I look at this, I think, would we see a day like this? I hope that we would have if President Biden hadn't dropped out of the race, if he was by some strange miracle for him reelected, or if Kamala Harris had prevailed. And it's very hard for me to conceive of a president like this under her leadership. And, you know, this is the defining moment of his presidency so far. we're only the first year into his second term. And, I think that he is very hungry for peace and for more deals. And the way the world and Democrats have coalesced around him, I think that has to give Russia pause, because they feel momentum shifting against them, and they see how quickly things can change. And, all you have to do is ask.
There's also a really interesting mix of a few months of, well, since President Trump was in office, of soft power through the State Department and the hard power from the Defense Department and Operation Midnight Hammer. I know that's your nickname. And how that was able to put these puzzle pieces together so that President Trump could bring everybody to the table and get it done.
That went all over my head.
Why?
I don't know anything about soft and hard power. I do know about Stephanie Power, amazing in Herbie Writes Again. I want to talk. I'm interested in what's happening like around us. Like every day you hear how awful Donald Trump is until something like this happens and it just goes deathly quiet. It's just like all of a sudden people go back. You know what? Maybe that's how they should live their lives. Do not pay such a close attention to this and go about your lives, because you're going to be proven wrong. I have a suggestion. We have a huge audience, and the reason why we have a huge audience is because we have a lot of liberals watching. So if you're watching, here's just one request. You saw Trump bring Israel and Hamas to the table to make peace. Maybe draw inspiration from that and call that one person, a relative or a friend, that you deserted or blocked because they voted for Trump. This is such a huge deal. Your little vendetta, it can't be that hard to fix. You might have a sister-in-law, you might have a cousin, you might have an old friend from college. Like, if Trump can do that, maybe it's time that you decide that you were a little harsh on your friends and the people because they happened to see something in Trump that you missed, because you did miss it. Politicians like Joe Biden and the rest, they live in the world of the acceptable. They accept everything. There's going to be death, they accept it. There's going to be poverty, they accept it. They accept everything. Trump came from the world of the unacceptable. He came in, he's like, what's this got to do? He would ask, why are we doing this? I don't understand that. Why do we have all this money there? I don't get this at all. I don't like war. Because he would not accept the managed decline and the constant death, he became unacceptable to them, to the people that were in power. He thought big. He sees everything as a moonshot. What could happen? Maybe not, maybe not. He thought that the impossible was possible. So I would love for Never Trumpers to ask themselves about the possibility that the things that they hated about him are what make him successful. And perhaps your ego was hurt by the fact that he believed that these great things could happen, and he was persistent and relentless and positive, and that just seemed so alien to you. If you think about it, where are his critics today? How small are they? Because I can't see them. Where is Bill Kristol? Where is Adam Kinzinger, Liz Cheney, Gavin Newsom, Vindman? Where are these people? We should do a show on Fox Nation called Where Are They Now? And just do because I want to know, how do you look in the mirror when you see, after years of mocking people who had faith in this guy, people who risked a lot of stuff to support Trump that you made fun of, the George Takei's of the world that ridiculed it, where are they? Don't you owe the people that you mocked some kind of apology? This guy is solving world peace. He closed the border. He's trying to reduce crime. Anyway, they'll find something new.
They will. They'll wait a full 24 hours.
Yes.
We'll be back at it.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.